No coach gives congratulatory shoves like Jason Garrett. Did you see the ones he gives? Like he's always shoving everybody, shoving them.
Especially Amari Cooper and Dak.
We got to see a shove if we got one. I saw one on our B-roll. He's always shoving guys.
Good job, guys.
Here comes a shove.
Wait for it.
Wait a second. Wait a second.
Hug it out. Hug it out.
Come on. Oh, now he's even butt slapping the referee. So, there it is. There's a little playful shove. That's what he does. Nobody does those things better. But this team has tuned out Jason Garrett. And after the game yesterday, I nearly puked when I read this quote. No, I actually saw it on television. What? The quote from Jason saying, "The character of these men showed up today." These men showed up today.
They showed up, yeah.
We challenged the team to stand tall, and stand tall they did, said Jason Garrett. The team wants to vomit over those quotes because the team doesn't care anymore. So what did we have this year? We had Jerry summing it up last night after the game. He said the inconsistencies that were involved with this season are mind-boggling. Correct?
Yeah.
Inconsistent. Way up, way down.
Oh, yeah.
Right? The Rams game, the first Eagles game and the Rams game. What did you see? Tour de force. You saw everything that should have been, could have been right about the Dallas Cowboys.
Right.
You saw a team that, to Troy Aikman's point, could have been as dangerous as any team in the postseason, but it didn't get in the postseason. You saw a team that was favored in 15 out of 16 games that went 8-8. That's got to be the end of that coach. Again, I would have fired him after his second 8-8 season. He went 8-8 in his first year, which was 2011. And then after another 8-8 in 2012, because I covered Jason and I knew Jason fairly well as a player, I just didn't think he was cut out to be the CEO of a team, the leader of a team. I think he could be a pretty good, maybe even a very good play caller, offensive coordinator, but that's not his job now. His job is to command and inspire a football team, and he's not very good at that. He's a nice guy, and he's a great, quote-unquote, son for Jerry to have. And as Troy said at the end of the telecast yesterday, Jerry Jones would like nothing better than to have Jason stay on as head coach. So I think he's going to look for every reason to keep him. And he may be, they may have a big sit down today, and Jason can be very forthright and earnest and say, we're going to change this, and I'm going to fire that guy and fire that guy.
Jerry's like, who you recommend? Because remember, Jerry said, every coach that you see on this staff, I put him there.
Yep.
Therein lies the problem, Skip. At some point in time, you got to let a coach, look, you let him hire some of the people that he wants. Let him cut. You said that there are people on this roster that did not fulfill their obligation contractually. But Jason Garrett gets blamed for that. Jason didn't give Zeke money. He didn't give Jalen Smith money. He didn't give all that money to those offensive linemen.
I agree with your big picture premise of this whole thing. The owner should fire the owner. He should fire himself. But and I know, it's not realistic.
No, he can stay on as owner, but just
fire himself as a GM. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, but then as owner, is he going to be like an absentee owner?
No.
Is he going to be an owner you never hear, never see?
No. Skip, look, we don't expect him to be ghost like the only thing you know is Daniel Snyder owns the team, never says anything. We don't expect him to or be like the McCaskies up in Virginia, McCaskey in Chicago.
How about the first owner of the Dallas Cowboys that went on for what, 20-odd years?
Yeah.
Was Clint Murkison?
And nobody knew who he was.
No, he was a ghost.
They thought people actually thought the GM was the owner of the team.
That is true. Tex Schramm.
That
is correct.
People actually thought Tex Schramm owned the team because nobody ever heard or even saw the owners election.
Okay. That's one way to do it.
Yeah. No, that's not him. He's not going to do that, but I'm saying, Skip, must you have a must you talk first to the media after every game? Must you have a radio and a TV show?
That's why he bought the team in 1989, and he bought it on a song, and he was only allowed to buy it by, what's his name? I'll think of his name. What's his name? The guy from, I'll think of it in just a second. But I was going to say Bun Phillips, but that's not who he was. But he allowed Jerry to buy the team just because he despised Tom Landry, and Jerry said, I will fire Tom Landry.
Right.
I see.
Bun Bright is his name.
Bun Bright.
Okay.
So the point was that he picked the guy who was the lowest bidder, who was putting it together on a shoestring. And I know it's a lot of money, but Jerry was barely pulling it off at the time. And now what's his worth is like
$6 billion.
It might, you could argue it was the greatest investment
What
ever.
did he say?
Right?
Like he paid the loan off in like 3 years?
Yeah.
It's insane.
It's like some like it was like $120, $130 million,
Right.
which is, you know, in today's I mean, that's a lot, especially back in the late 80s. Skip, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money now, but it was really a lot of money back then, especially when you didn't really have that kind of money.
Yeah.
So why did he buy the team? As he told, I wrote a whole book about this. He wanted to be in the center of attention.
Yes.
He was just some oil and gas guy, and he was at an oil and gas convention in Cabo San Lucas.
Yes.
When he read in the San Diego paper, the Cowboys were for sale. It's just like a little blurb at the bottom of the page. And he said, I'm going to buy them. And he called up Salomon Brothers in New York, who was the broker for the deal, and said, you don't know me, I'm Jerry Jones, but I'm going to buy the Dallas Cowboys. And by God, he pulled it off.
What a story.
Right?
More people know Steve Ballmer for owning the Clippers than ever knew he was the CEO.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. So the point is, he bought them to be a star.
Yes.
And he is the biggest owner star in the history of sports. I know George Steinbrenner was big, but I don't think he was as big sort of internationally as Jerry Jones is.
Yeah, especially now with the social media and the advent of social media.
Yeah.
But I think he took a lot of George Steinbrenner and Al Davis. Al Davis was the guy that he modeled his
mentor.
his ownership after.
Yeah.
But Skip, I mean, you look at these owners. I mean, Stan Kroenke had a ton of money before he owned the Rams. But people know him because the sports franchises.
And yet I barely know him.
he does.
I barely know him. He doesn't talk.
I met him at Mr. Nolan's memorial.
Yep.
That was the first time I ever heard him speak. He doesn't really.
And he's owned teams in every sport.
Avalanche, Nuggets, and you got a soccer team.
I'm not sure I could pick him out of a lineup.
No.
I'm not sure.
You probably could. You probably like, okay, with the mustache because he has the big mustache. But other than that, Skip, at some point in time, Skip, Jerry's got to take why he can't take a step back, Skip? They're still your Cowboys. They're still your team. And if you win the Super Bowl, Commissioner Goodell will hand you the trophy first. You will get first crack at talking.
Well, he always says you wouldn't believe the check I would write to win another Super Bowl, but you would believe what he wouldn't do to win that, which is to fire himself.
Let me ask you a question, Skip. If they say, Jerry, we're gonna let you do, you can win the Super Bowl, but you can't do a press conference and you couldn't talk, you couldn't do or have a radio show. You think he takes that for the Super Bowl?
I would hope he would, but I'm not sure he would.
I don't know if he could see past
I'm not sure he would.
Yeah.
Let that sink in for a second. All you got to do is not do no radio interviews for the year.
I want to cover a Cowboys game just so I can see the media frenzy after to see everyone around him.
That's all they care about is what's Jerry going to say.
Right.
Yeah.
It's at least as big as the outcome of the game is Jerry's post-game interview.
Because normally, Skip, what do you think? You guys were scurrying in the locker room try to talk to the quarterback or the Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, some defensive guy that had a good game. The guys are already dressed, fully dressed before the guys go in there. They worried about what Jerry gonna say. What's Jerry gonna say?
When I covered the teams in the 90s, Jerry didn't do this after.
Oh, really?
No!
He did not.
No, with Jimmy.
Well,
Has he ever tried to do one on the field? I feel like that's
I don't know.
Like he'll get with the sideline report.
And that's Skip. That's what he and Jimmy ended up clashing about.
Yeah.
Jimmy
Control.
had too much power.
It was
and
about
he wanted
control.
like, hold on. You mean to tell me how the guy that's I'm paying him can tell me what I can and can't do?
Yep.
So this meeting with Jason Garrett and the Jones family is scheduled to be sometime after the noon hour. So we will wait and see if anything
about
comes
10
of that.
o'clock
Right about when we wrap up things.
You can get that
possibly
good
some
news. I'm gonna
news.
make sure I call you.
We'll see.